We just had Madam Web release into Marvel Snap, coming in at a 2-cost, 1-power card with the interesting ongoing ability of you can move one of your other cards away from here each turn. So this, of course, naturally wants to fit into like a movement shell, but it kind of adds to those mind games that you can play with your opponent. And so while you can potentially outplay them, there's also the potential chance that you outplay yourself and end up losing games that you could have won. So if you can master Madam Web and the movement mechanics, that's great, but movement still has the same drawbacks or deficits that it always has, and that is that it is a glass cannon deck. You're going to have a Human Torch that gets to 1,000 power and then goes back down to 2 with a Shadow King, or gets destroyed entirely with a Shang, and those type of decks are going to be pretty common right now with Madam Web's release. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how she develops. And so if we see movement kind of rise, similar to how Sebastian Shaw is very core in like a Silver Surfer, I think Madam Web will be core in any kind of movement shell that you run. But I'm also interested in, can she be used in other applications? For our first deck build with Madam Web, it is going to be a kind of traditional Hercules movement bounce. This one has the upside of being able to potentially control your initiative, so that on the last turn you can pull in your cards so that you can flood them again onto the board on the last turn. That way you're safe from Shadow King, Shang-Chi, any of those big counters, and then you just have a large amount of power that you're exploding on the last turn. With this one, I did end up adding Heimdall for that kind of mind game component. You're going to move a card out of the Madam Web lane. Do you shift those back over one lane to the left? Do you drop that as your last turn play? Do you just hold it, go with something a little bit more mid-range? You have a lot of ways to play around the opponent and push quite a bit of high power onto the board. Madam Web does what she is designed to do very well in being able to really help elevate those movement cards very early on and very often. And so your movement cards are going to get enabled. They're going to be huge. It's just a matter of, can you dodge it to the point where, 1, you don't get countered, and 2, you have them spread out enough that you can find the way to win. My initial gut impression is that she's great in a bounce style shell. If that's what you're interested in, if that's what you're running, I think it'll take a little bit more brewing and testing to find any kind of shell that she might be viable in outside of this archetype. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. Thank you guys, as always, for being here. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, first up we have the Vecna. The first location is the sewer system. We have our Madam Web, which is great to see starting off. All we need is a couple of our movement scaling cards in like a dagger. We do have Hercules as well, so we're going to be able to hide the Madam Web. Maybe we throw Hercules over to the left so that we can continually push cards over there. The reason that we don't have Kraven in this deck, or really just in general, most movement decks, Kraven with the movement change fell off, because otherwise we could move a card, drop Kraven that same turn and be able to scale him, but that's not the case anymore. However, the Vecna has the Kraven, and so they may prove me a little bit wrong here. Let's go ahead and throw our Hercules down. I thought about playing Hercules into mid, because this game is going to be very dependent on priority and initiative. I'm going to play Hercules to the left, Human Torch, and then we'll see. So their card that they dropped alongside the Iron Fist, let's see what they have. Nico into Destroy, so they don't have their movement pieces, or they didn't. I'm sure that they do now. So Falcon gets destroyed. They pull back in the Nico. They pull back in the Iron Fist, and so their Kraven has started elevating, but we'll see if we're able to come over the top of that. The Nico is the copy ability. We could copy Iron Fist, or something like Dagger, move into maybe like a Beast, a Nico, and then an Iron Fist. That's going to allow us to play Human Torch, and if we get another card, we'll be able to play that one as well. So Dagger bounces over into Monster Metropolis, and so it's only 6. Their Kraven is also up to 6 already. Iron Fist, they copy their Iron Fist as well. And then the Dagger. So Dagger pushing over to the left. But right now we had initiative. After this, I'm not so certain, but we pulled in our Hercules so that they wouldn't be able to capitalize on it. And we'll see what we want to do on this final turn. We have our Human Torch that could be the movement. Falcon's not going to be great. We could do like a big dagger into Heimdall. That doesn't make this lane huge. Human Torch equals 8, so then we can at least compete in this left lane still. It's not fantastic. Hold on, wait. We do Human Torch because we played Iron Fist last. Human Torch pushes here into Heimdall mid because we're going to be 8-16 in the left. Pretty competitive. I guess 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's what we're going to go with. They shift their Iron Fist over. We're not using the Madam Web this turn. Iron Fist into their Vulture, so big Vulture. It's looking like maybe we needed to focus more on... Okay, Vulture coming back into mid. So maybe we didn't need to focus more on the left lane. And that's the thing that Madam Web or just movement decks in general are going to do, is that it's so tough to know like where power is going to end on the last turn. It's just so difficult to read. So we heavily win the left lane. We should be able to win mid as well with our dagger shifting over there. But the thing that until next week, whenever next week's card comes out, until then, the right lane most of the time with Heimdall decks is still pretty vulnerable. And so you end up having a stacked left and mid lane with a very weak or non-existent right lane a lot of the time. We're going to go ahead and take the 2. Let's jump over into the next. All right, next up we have Inspire Wheat. The first location, the Sandbar. We do have our Madam Web, which is always the start of our high roll possibility, being able to start high rolling. They have Chavez to start, which is usually a rather weak card. Let's go ahead and go Madam Web into mid. We have Vulture that we could start moving some cards. We also have like a Human Torch into Ghost Spider, move mid, and later pull that in with a Falcon, which I kind of like. We can always double up on the Human Torch later on. So like Human Torch, Ghost Spider to pull it mid, Madam Web moves it out into Falcon to pull up our cards, and then we'll see from there. The double White Widow, not great for us, especially with the buffed up Forge bonus. It looks like it... I don't know what kind of deck Inspire Wheat is running, but we know that we can't get locked into this lane because of our Madam Web, which is great. Let's go ahead and go Human Torch, and I'm going to go Falcon as well. We could go ahead and stage the Iron Fist, but I don't think I want to. I think I want to save it. So Hood, have a Viper as well, so it's unfortunate. Annihilus, maybe their line, which would be really, really scary for us. Falcon to pull their Chavez? Their Hood back in. Double Hood. We get Beast. We can do Iron Fist, double Human Torch, Beast. But we know that one of the Human Torches will go over here. Do we just want to pick up the left lane? Double Iron Fist to double move Human Torch to Beast. That's what I'm going to try instead. See what we can make happen. So they're big demons all across the board. The Chavez coming back down, not a huge thing. We are going to dodge priority. So Human Torch 1, Human Torch move number 2. And then the second one pops up wherever it decides. And then we beast the left lane back in, so we have at least one more Human Torch and at least one more Iron Fist we can lean into. So they have us here, but we can do another double Iron Fist to double Human Torch. I think that should do it for us. I'm going to leave space open for both Iron Fists to go. So the Shang comes into play, should be fine. Depending on where the second Human Torch stacks to, right? So we know that we're going to have the big 64 power, but it's either going to go left or mid from the duplicate. It'll take a 50-50 sometimes. It can get pretty big with some of these cards, but it's a glass cannon deck. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Madam Eva. The first location is Monster Metropolis. So we could use that as a way to move Human Torch with our Doctor Strange on turn number 2. Is it perfect? Probably not. I'm going to go ahead and throw it, though. That way we start enabling him. Because he'll be 5 here, and then we can rip it away with the Doctor Strange. We also have Falcon. Pull it back into our hand. I'm going to go Doctor Strange into mid. We pull the Human Torch over, courtesy of Monster Metropolis only, which allows him to start his scaling on turn number 2. Beast could be pretty good. They have their Madam Web down, which is massive for them. Unfortunately, we don't have our Madam Web in hand. And Savage Land is interesting. With all of the movement mirrors, Hercules becomes really chaotic really, really quickly. I kind of think we just do something like Vulture. I'm going to throw Hercules to the left, because we know their main movement cards are going to go into Monster Metropolis and then get moved out. And so besides a like Heimdall, we don't have a huge worry here. So we can do Iron Fist, Vulture. Pushes here, pushes somewhere else. Falcon is going to be lined up for next turn to pull back in this lane, this one. That way we can either compete for killing if we need to, compete for the left. I almost want to snap into this, but movement decks are so finicky and fickle that I'm going to choose not to. Vulture over to the left, bounces back out, bounces into mid. So we do have the lead here. And then Ghost Spider to move their Vulture so that they can move it one additional time with the Madam Web next turn. Great whenever that line ends up working out for you, for sure. We can't play this into the Vulture lane, unfortunately. I'm torn with the Madam Web placement, but I'm going to throw it into the left. If they're having a Heimdall shift, which not all movement decks are going to have that as that like last turn trigger. Where does their power fall at the end of the game becomes the question. 25 power for them in mid, plus a cloak is craziness. And they're going to have initiative. So what if we move Hercules into mid? A Black Swan as well. Crazy deck. They can move their cloak over. What if it's Hercules, Vulture, Iron Fist? That's what I'm going to lock in, hoping that they move their Vulture. Okay.
I see the way.
So, +2/+2. It's very close. Iron Fist. Oh my goodness. These games are wild. Madam Web creates the just like uncertainty all across the board of where is your opponent going to move their cards? What are they going to do? Luckily, we were on the flip side of that one. I've been on the other side of the coin quite often as well. We'll take the 2. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Been Broke. I have been broke as well. So we have Madam Web, we have Ghost Spider, Iron Fist. Fantastic early cards for us to be able to enable some kind of crazy chaotic movement. And so I may want to play Madam Web to the left. That way we can start pushing and adjusting stuff over. But with the Crimson Cosmos, I don't know. It makes it difficult for like the Iron Fist, Ghost Spider line. Hercules line becomes a little bit tough as well. But we can always do some jukes with the Hercules stuff by having it in the Madam Web lane. So Nova Roma allows us to draw a card, which is perfect. Get our Falcon. We're looking for Vulture, Dagger, Human Torch, none of the above. Let's go ahead and stage our Hercules, and we'll see. Actually, I'm gonna stage Hercules to the left. We can move it into mid if we want to. So like moving it into mid into like an Iron Fist plus whatever card we want to move the mid from the right into it, pushing it somewhere else might be a decent line. US Agent doesn't have much of anything to, oh my goodness. Into the Nico is diabolical. I'm gonna skip here. 4 cards left. 3 of those are movement cards. Finally, we get a little bit of a break. Okay, so Hercules into Iron Fist, Vulture, and then we're gonna make sure that it ends up on the left lane. All that does is give us a guarantee win of 1 lane. The other ones, good luck, is about what we have. Big Abomination right. And then the Scorpion, a lot of Affliction. They could have Ajax. Plus with how much negativity is in that left lane, an Ajax over there would be scary. Ooh, we do get the good Vulture flip. A Vulture popping over to the right. Ghost Spider's gonna pull him back over to the left to make sure we have a big behemoth here. So we could always Hercule or Vulture. It goes here and then goes somewhere else into Heimdall. If we do that, we're hoping for the 50-50 that Vulture pops over to the left. Oh, that is not where we wanted to go.
I see the way.
All hail Hydra!
Had it went over to the left, we could have won that one. Wait a minute, we did win that one. Oops. It was Arnim Zola from Valentina plus the US Agent. Oh my goodness, we won by a mercy.